When Oregon's back on the field against Indiana on October 11th, there should be a noticeable change from the first part of the season.
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is that time once again for Locked On Ducks. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Of course, your team every day, your number one source to stay up to date with the Ducks. One of my favorite segments to do, only get to do it a handful of times every single year. Individual standouts, guys that need recognition for their performances that flew under the radar a bit. More Penn State moments. Who doesn't want to keep reliving that game? And trivia returns on a Tuesday. Today's show brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Dierre Hill should be Oregon's number 1A or 1B running back. I'm sold. I'm completely sold. And this is not to disparage Jaden Lamar as some awful, no good, very bad football player that should never see the field. How did he ever? No. This is nothing like that. Like with the Mekhi Hughes situation, though, other guys are just better. We did not see Jay Harris on Saturday night. We did not see Dink Riggs. Mekhi Hughes didn't make the trip. There's a very clear and distinct reason, and that's that the other guys are just better. You can see it every time they run the ball. Some guys, particularly with running backs, you can see it with other positions too, of course. You know, when DeCorian Moore on that big catch against A.J. Harris, who is an early round NFL draft pick at corner, when he cuts up the field, it just doesn't look like everybody else. Gary Bryant's a good player. You watch DeCorian and go, oh, that's different. That's it. Gary had an awesome game, by the way. Gary is an awesome player. What a great guy for Oregon to have back in the receiver room this year. But for the running back situation, Jaden Lamar has been the go-to when Noah Whittington hasn't been fully healthy or hasn't played. And I think that was mostly based on experience, frankly. And maybe there was an element of, throwing pasta at the wall to see what sticks for the staff. And, how do these guys perform? How do these guys respond and figure out there is no bigger stage that you could play on in the regular season than that game against Penn State. There might not be a better defense you go up against all year than Penn State. And Dierre Hill and Jordan Davison were the guys that I kept wanting to be on the field and I kept wanting to touch the ball. And when they carried it versus when Jaden Lamar carried it, there was a difference. There was absolutely a difference. It was partial. Now, the thing with running backs, when you just look at yards per carry, it does not tell the whole story. I think it, like most stats, is a good starting point. I don't think it's an end point for reaching this sort of conclusion, because sometimes guys get a carry and there's just nothing there, And then, suddenly it's, he's got a negative rush or he only got 2 yards. Well, anybody would have only gotten 2 yards on that particular play sometimes. So what you're looking for, what I look for when I'm watching Oregon running backs and seeing who's good and all that and, how the rotations I feel like should work out, do you have a game-changing element? Do you have a unique or exceptionally strong trait that separates you from someone else, that says, hey, he brings that to the table that this other guy doesn't have? And Dierre Hill, to me, brings that in a couple of different ways. Number one, the high-end speed. He's the most explosive running back in the room for the Ducks. And Whittington, I think, is just behind him. We've seen Noah Whittington for years when he is fully healthy, and I thought Whittington looked good outside of the near fumble, which was not a fumble. It was close, but the grass is the ground, and it's tight. It's tight. What are you going to do? The grass is the ground. That's where the line gets drawn. Anyway, so Whittington still looks good. I don't think Dierre Hill should, automatically take carries away from Whittington, and I don't think he's going to. This should be a pretty clear rotation, though, of Whittington and Hill are first, Davison is situational, and Jaden Lamar when other guys need a spell or if somebody gets dinged up. And I don't think Jaden Lamar's role is going to completely go away. He's a guy who does a lot of good things. He can catch a screen pass on the outside like Dierre Hill. If Dierre's not in that, if Dierre has to come out for a play or two for one reason or the other, maybe his helmet comes off and you want to call that play. We know Jaden Lamar can do that. Jaden Lamar's a pretty good blocker as well. When you run these two-back sets, he could lead block for Noah Whittington. If they go 21 personnel, I think Jordan Davison is better in that regard. I don't think that Jaden Lamar is bad at it. And this, I think, has kind of always been the knock on Jaden Lamar that I've talked about when he's come up before on the show. He does everything pretty well. And so he's an incredibly balanced, solid back, but he doesn't have that exceptional trait, whether it's size, physicality, speed, elusiveness. He's good enough at all of them. He's not great at any of them. And so when you watch Dierre Hill, you see a lot of that stuff. He looks decisive, which is awesome for a true freshman through 5 games in his college career. He's an incredibly explosive and fluid athlete. The word on him coming out of high school was he's got the explosive runs. He, gets to the outside. He's got this great speed. And of course, we know he does. When I watch him run between the tackles or get through arm tackles, I think he has more power than maybe that particular narrative gave him credit for. So I got a couple of questions about the running back situation. And, is Dierre Hill RB1? Someone sent me that as a Spencer scale of agreement. I think he's 1A. I think you have Whittington and Dierre Hill. I'm fine with either one. I mean, Whittington did some awesome stuff on Saturday night. He had this run, I forget exactly which quarter it was in, and I'm recording this coming off just rewatching the entire game. He had one where he was bottled up for 2 yards, and then all of a sudden he emerges out of the pack and picks up 7 or 8. And I watched that and thought, Bucky Irving. That is a Bucky Irving type run where he just doesn't go down and runs with just a tenacious strength that allows him to get through arm tackles early and often. So is Dierre Hill RB1? Like, not over Whittington, no. I don't think that Hill is going to be someone that, relegates Noah Whittington to only getting 5 or 6 carries a game. I think you're going to see 10 to 15 between those two guys going forward, but that's what it should be. So if that counts, then I'm at a 10. But if you're saying he should be RB1 over Whittington and be the clear-cut bell cow back, no, I'm at a 3 on that one, because I think if you can have 2 guys back there play the hot hand from time to time and just keep them fresh throughout the year, I think that's a great way to go forward. But Jaden Lamar was the top guy when this season began, and this is why you want to retain players like Jaden Lamar in the offseason, so that you can work younger players into the fold, not put a lot on their shoulders right away, let them get up to speed to college football. And then if you feel like they're more talented and ready to go, you give them the opportunity. I think we saw that moment on Saturday. I really do, because Dierre Hill was a significantly better running back than Jaden Lamar. Jordan Davison's role is not going anywhere. Dude is a stud, absolute stud. So that's the running back room. I think you've narrowed it down to those 3 guys, and Lamar's the 4th. And if Jaden Lamar's your 4th running back, great. You've got a really good room. I think we saw that on Saturday. Oregon ran the ball well. Another one came in on the running backs for Spencer scale of agreement. More thunder and lightning going forward. I can't get enough of those 2 being on the field at the same time. The number of times you think about the early 3rd or 4th down, I think it was the 4th down that Oregon called, where they had 3 running backs on the field, and they flare out Dierre Hill and then give it to Davison on the cross dive from a fullback position. He's just doing such a good job of being in that Jordan James 2022 true freshman role, where he's just a big, physically bruising back who has more in the tank, but right now he has a defined role and he needs to be good at it, and he is. He's great. And when those 2, Hill and Davison, are on the field at the same time, and Davison's lead blocking, whether that's from the side-by-side set, or whether you go with one off to the side and Dierre Hill behind and Davison lead blocks as a fullback, yeah, that's a 10 on Spencer's scale of agreement. Give me as much of that as you feel like you want to run, Will Stein. You go for it. So from the moment the season began and Whittington got dinged up a bit, they went to Jaden Lamar. I don't think that'd be the case going forward, and I don't think it should be. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, all of that good stuff. Oh, man. So many standouts, and it's going to be somewhat monotone in a way. Not from me, but the players I've chosen. Yeah. A couple of really good stories stood out on Saturday. First, this episode brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system that I've talked about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. Quo, formerly OpenPhone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. I am so excited to shout these guys out after watching the Oregon-Penn State game back. I'm starting with Bear Alexander. This is not just a great performance. This is a great story. A guy who would probably get plenty, and I'm sure has, received negative comments, tweets, whatever, from USC media folks or fans or whoever, and he started at Georgia. He bounced around at high schools. Like the narrative on him coming into the season was one thing. You cannot deny what he did on Saturday night. Penn State ran for just 139 yards. Drew Allard didn't hit 200 yards passing. And the big reason is the Oregon defensive line, who I've got a number of guys to shout out. I could shout out just the entire defensive line. Terrence Green had his best game as a Duck, a mountain of a man. Brandon Bear looking guy up there. He was awesome. But Bear Alexander was everywhere. In the run game, in the pass game, but particularly against the run. Bear Alexander was awesome. And the guy I mentioned talking about Bear coming into this season was Jordan Burch, who went to South Carolina, big-time recruit, and he was, okay. Didn't realize his full potential. And then he comes to Oregon. And if you ever get into a discussion with one particular fan base from a state in the Pacific Northwest, I'm just saying it's possible, I've seen it happen before, about that D word, development. Yeah, developing transfer portal guys is not so slowly and definitely surely becoming a part of this Oregon coaching staff's identity. The number of guys they've done it with just keeps going up. You've got Jordan Burch, you've got Bo Nix, you've got Bear Alexander. Another one of my defensive standouts, Jaden Kennedy. Looks like a completely different football player than what he was at Ole Miss. Chris Hampton, the co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach. I think he was secondary coach. Now he's back to just safeties. Whatever. He's on the defensive staff. Really good. He has done wonders with Jaden Kennedy. And they're still rotating a lot of guys on the back end of this Oregon defense. I mean, Peyton Woodyard and Sione Laulea and Theron Johnson and Dalen Austin and Jaden Kennedy and Aaron Flowers and Ife Obadegwu and Brandon Finney, they all played at different points in this game. So that's clearly part of their identity. I'm here for it. Keep guys fresh and see who your best guys are. But I think they have a lot of guys who they feel are really good. But Bear Alexander is an awesome watch from Saturday night. Like, as I was going back and watching the entire game through, I just kept noticing, wow, he's just dominating. And he wasn't alone, of course, because I love this one. I love this one. You know, not every single one of my takes is always correct. I understand that. When you're in the opinion business, sometimes you're going to make what you think is a really big brain call or prediction. You know, like my picking Oregon to lose Penn State on Saturday. And sometimes you just wind up being wrong. And then sometimes you're really right. You're like really right to the point where you get to come on and do a brief little mini segment like this. Have I ever been as right on a player as Amari Washington? Don't know. I'm trying to think of one in which I've had a better take. I have been chair and continue to be the chair of the Amari Washington fan club. I have been for, the entire offseason. He just put on a masterclass in the trenches, defending the run, pressuring the quarterback, especially defending the run in this game. We've seen a lot of Tioni Gray, and we'll continue to see that. And Aiden Breland had a nice game as well from what I saw. Tatum Tuioti, another one of my individual standouts here. Like, this was a theme because when you watch this game, Oregon's defensive line did so much to force Drew Aller to throw the ball before he wanted to get him off platform throwing the football, and he made a couple spectacular throws. That's what he's capable of doing. To take away the rushing attack in the ways that they did before overtime, that they were outstanding. They were outstanding. I think it was way more Oregon's ability to shut down the Penn State rushing attack relative to the Big Ten championship game last year. And you take 139 yards per game in a big matchup like this any day of the week and twice on Saturday. It was, to me, far more about the defensive line than any other position group. I thought Oregon's linebackers were just okay in this game. Not horrible. Definitely had some moments that were like, not great. But overall, the defensive line was awesome. And Amari Washington, that might be my best take of all time. I don't know. No, I know what my best take of all time was. It was college basketball related from many, many years ago. I watched Jordan Ford at St. Mary's play for like 5 minutes at the end of a blowout game, and I texted my buddy, who was my mentor at the time, still is, and I said, Jordan Ford's going to lead the WCC in scoring, and he did that 2 years in a row. So anyway, Amari Washington, stud, just an absolute stud. I mean, the way he read the screen pass early on, he's so fast off the ball. It is unconscionable that Amari Washington is 330 pounds. I don't understand, and yet that's the way of the world. It's awesome. So Jaden Kennedy in there as well. Another guy in the secondary. And again, I'm trying to go beyond the obvious. You know, Thieneman had the game-winning interception. I'll talk about the corners in a moment, but Aaron Flowers is a ball player. I mean a darn good ball player. He is so fast out there. And as a Seahawks fan, when I see a safety as rangy as him, my mind always goes to Earl Thomas when you're making as many plays in the run game as he is. And Thieneman made some, but Aaron Flowers' ability to tackle, he almost never misses a tackle. He plays sideline to sideline. He plays fast. He trusts his keys. He is an incredibly well-coached and just overall good football player across the board. I love watching him play every week because he's getting downhill. He's trusting what his eyes are telling him, getting to the spot and making a tackle over and over and over again. He's doing an awesome job, and he did it this past week against two NFL running backs in Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. So those are the guys on defense. On offense, again, Dante Moore was great. Corian Moore, awesome. Kenyon Sadiq, fun. Dierre Hill, talked about the running backs. I want to go to the big boys up front. Poncho and Emmanuel Prainon, I thought dominated the run game for Oregon in this one. The number of times that Oregon ran to the left side with success compared to the right side, I thought was telling with how the staff felt with regards to how the offensive line was playing. And Alex Harkey is one of my standouts as well. I'm sure you've all seen on Twitter the SWAT and getting out on the tunnel screen touchdown to Dierre Hill. It's textbook. And I also want to take this moment to shout out that there's such a crap and soft, so soft on the personal foul. Penn State fans that are mostly online, of course, complaining about the officials. Why don't you answer for the one where Harkey, definitely tripped, denied Dennis Sutton, also got whacked in the face mask and the official didn't seem to care. Second guy always gets punished. Doesn't mean the first guy didn't do something wrong. So I don't want to hear it with all of that. Yes, they missed a couple of holds in this game on Oregon. 100%. I'm going to talk about another thing they missed that went Penn State's way later in the game. But I want to put a fine point on some individual standouts. My guy Eric Scopel, who will be on the show later this week, tweeted that Brandon Finney and Ife Obadegwu, man, however good you think these guys are, ignore their PFF grades. I do not care what PFF says about these guys right now. On the season through 5 games, Finney, the true freshman, 11 targets. He's allowed 2 receptions for 15 yards. Ife has been targeted 9 times, 4 receptions for 62 yards. They combined to allow 1 target and 0 receptions on Saturday. Crazy good work against a good receiving core. Now, some of that is definitely a credit to the guys I talked about first, the defensive line. Drew Aller, there was a long third down where I think it was Trevor Pena, the Penn State wide receiver transfer from Syracuse, had an Oregon DB. It was either Sione Lale or Dalen Austin. Had him beat in the slot, and Amari Washington and Mateo ran a stunt where Amari Washington darts towards the outside. He pulled the guard enough. Mateo looped around. They both got in Drew Aller's face. He had to throw the ball early. It was incomplete. It was well covered by Kennedy and Peyton Woodyard over the top as well. DBs can only be good if their defensive line is good. Well, which unit was I highest on for the Ducks coming into the season? Defensive line. Who won the game as much as any unit on the field on Saturday night? The defensive line was absolutely phenomenal. On the offensive side, though, I thought Poncho and Prenon were just mauling dudes all over the place. Of course, they were really good in pass protection. Harkey did a bunch of really good stuff as well, and I wanted to get a shout out. Isaiah World, up and down. Dave Uli, same thing, up and down. Some good moments, some really not good moments as well. If I were to rate the Oregon offensive lineman from Saturday night, I'd say Poncho's number one, because Oregon's offensive line did not false start. Tight end false started a couple times, but I don't think Oregon's offensive line had a false start. So Poncho 1, Prenon 2, Harkey 3. I'd probably go Isaiah World 4 and Davey Uli 5, but they all had their moments of doing really good stuff. But, man, when Oregon needed a big play, I'm going to talk about this later, they ran to the left side, and it's easy to see why. Prenon, awesome. Gosh. It is so great to talk about games. It is the most fun. You know what else is fun? Reliving that Penn State game, which we're going to do. And for anyone that comes across Penn State chatter about the officiating, there is something that they should be reminded of. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season's here. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And if you want to bet Oregon games, you know they're over there on FanDuel. All of college football is over there. It's wonderful and glorious. There's a bunch of great information if you want to just poke around. They have got point spreads. They have got money line. They have got point totals. They've got bets for the rest of the year. They've got all sorts of great stuff. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. College football, NFL, anything and everything you want, FanDuel's got you covered. FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today and get started. Check them out at FanDuel.com. Who doesn't want to relive more moments from the Penn State game? Shall we? So I've seen several Penn State accounts tweeting out, I can't believe they missed this holding call. Call it how you see it. That's what I do on the show. 100% on the Dante Moore throw, which, late across the middle, rolling to your right. You better make it. Yeah, he got it to Kenyon Sadiq down the field. Big play in the game to keep the drive alive. They 100% missed a hold on Isaiah World going up against the 9 Dennis Sutton, who is an absolute beast of a defensive lineman. That was absolutely a hold. The officials missed it. If the shoe had been on the other foot, we'd all be furious. They missed that hold. I don't know how they did, but they did. Wasn't the only one that they missed on Oregon in the game. There were, I think, one or two other ones that easily could have been called. Here's what my message is to those in the Penn State community that are saying, well, the officials, they overturned the call. They did that. Look, I a couple of years ago really leaned into the mindset of I don't expect officials to get it right. It's clearly too hard of a job. These guys want to get it right. I've met a bunch of them, talked to them every week at Southern Utah games. They want to get it right, and they're just not fully capable. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. It's not as hard as they make it sometimes, but it's still really hard. So great teams are able to overcome bad moments of officiating. Perfect example. Does anybody want to sit there and actually say that Jaden Lamar wasn't targeted on the 3rd down in overtime? That led to a 4th and 1 that Oregon then converted, and they went on to win the game. You cannot Even if you want to say the holding was a huge impact play, yep, 100%. So was the targeting. That was the clearest example of helmet to helmet. And they said he was a defenseless player. He's getting dragged down. He's falling to the ground. Looked pretty defenseless to me. One of you asked me, Spencer, why wasn't it targeting? Answer, I don't know. Clear helmet to helmet contact on a hit that did not need to take place to get him to the ground. I don't know what we're doing here. Targeting's a dumb rule. Should we throw kids out of games for targeting? No. No, we absolutely should not. I understand why targeting exists. There's perfectly sound reasoning to it. It's just, you know what Oregon did in that moment? They overcame it. And when you lose, yep, it's easier to get frustrated officials. I get it. We've been there before several times. So you can only control what you can control. You can't control the officials. They missed calls in this game. What else is new? Unfortunately, it's the reality of college football. On the fumble for Noah Whittington, yeah, his knee touches the ground. I mean, it didn't touch a lot of the ground, but is that the rule? Is that the rule? Does he have to bend blades of grass back for it to be? Does it have to be planted into the ground? Is that what it is? There has to be a certain amount of force, or is it once he touches the ground? Like, no, his leg touches the ground. Okay, I wanted to get to more mailbag questions today, and kind of running out of time, but I'll get to a couple, and I'll close with trivia on a Tuesday. So, Blazer Duck sent this one in. Spencer, can you talk about the play call on the 4th and 1 during the first overtime? The call was a design quarterback run for Dante Moore with the game on the line, and Will Stein chose to run up the middle. Gutsy call. Yeah, so two things here. First of all, Oregon did not get the call they should have, which should have given them a free set of, or a new set of downs inside the 5-yard line or wherever they were. And what do great teams do? Overcome. And Oregon overcame that missed call with a 4th and 1 play call. And Will Stein was 5 of 7 on 4th down in this game. For all of you, and I know there aren't that many, but I know there have been some. For those of you that are not as high on Will Stein, he just went 5 of 7 on 4th down against arguably the best defense coordinator in college football, at the very least the highest paid one. That's about as good as it gets. By the way, would have been 6 of 8 if Kenyon Sadiq doesn't flinch in the first half, because Oregon was going for it before they punted on their first possession, and they had the first down. Or it was Jamari Johnson, I think. And it was a great play call. They line up I formation. They overload to the right. You think, oh, they got Davison in the backfield. They're just going to run this up the middle. And then he goes fake fullback dive, pitch left with Kenyon Sadiq on the lead block. It was an easy first down. It was a great play call, and Oregon just flinched on it. I forget which tight end it was. It was one of them that flinched. So on that 4th and 1 situation, what we saw is Dante Moore and Will Stein are willing to do whatever they have to win the football game. Now, hopefully going forward, I don't want Dante Moore to take as many shots as he did in the Penn State game until he absolutely has to. Like, ideally, until the college football playoff. I don't want Dante Moore getting hit as much as he did on Saturday night. In that game, you do whatever it takes to win. But when Oregon is playing, even a team like Iowa or Minnesota, Rutgers, Wisconsin, I don't want to see Dante Moore taking a bunch of shots. It shouldn't have to happen. It's good to know that you can do that if so needed. So, bunch more mailbag questions that I promise I will get to throughout the week, but we're going to cap it there. Oh, wait, we got to do trivia, of course, because it's Tuesday. This became maybe my most popular segment during the offseason, so I wanted to keep it going once a week. Tuesday trivia. I think I know the answer to this one. What were the University of Oregon's original colors? The original colors. Now, I thought about this for a moment. It's not green and yellow, but I thought back, and I thought back a little further, and I remembered those Webfoot jerseys that Oregon had a great uniform combo on Saturday night. The Webfoot jerseys. Yeah, maybe because Oregon lost to Washington 70-16, that made them worse and why they haven't brought them back. I don't think we need to bring those back. I think we're good. I believe those were the original colors, so I will go with that dark blue and the goldish yellow were Oregon's original colors. That's my official guess, and that is where we wrap today's show. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.